These numbers are completely derisory relative to the scale of the problem, and this is Starmer massively on the back foot. You know, his party is currently literally behind reform in the polls despite his enormous majority in the House of Commons. He's panicking, and they've rustled up this pathetic stunt. Well, taxpayers are not going to be deceived by this, are they?
This is a really simple rule, and you and I can disagree with it. In fact, I do disagree with it. Sure. But here is the rule. You can only be exempt for capital gains tax on the sale of your primary residence, and it is a classic dodge to pretend that, in fact, the other property that you're selling is your primary residence and your partner lives in that, and actually you're living parallel lives. It is a load of nonsense. It's quite obvious that she has tried to dodge here, in my opinion.
Just like that, Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner went from smug sound bites to stunned silence, thanks to Isabel Oakeshott, who walked in with facts sharper than Rayner's side eye and sassier than Starmer's awkward pauses. 1 minute they were spinning slogans, the next they were pinned like dodgy WhatsApps in a leak. Isabel didn't just expose them, she filleted their talking points and served them cold. What did she reveal that left Labour scrambling for the fire exit? Oh, this wasn't a debate, it was a demolition.
You know, taxpayers are entitled to be absolutely bloody furious that once again their intelligence is being insulted and their hard-earned cash is being squandered arranging exclusive private jet travel for Albanians who, you know, let's be frank,
have broken the law. Have broken the law.
They've broken the law, and what are they getting? 4 seats each or something on the private jet. What an absolute joke, and what a disgrace this government is.
And I think she's in real difficulty.
This is not the kind of
and
thing
it is
that
such a trivial amount of money, and I wouldn't mind so much if it weren't for the fact that Labour is so profligate with our money and proposes ever higher taxes, yet doesn't want to pay them themselves.
Keir Starmer once told a crowd he had a plan. That was the first red flag, because if Starmer has a plan, it's probably laminated, colour-coded, approved by a committee of 6 anonymous advisors, and includes at least one scheduled apology. And right beside him, like a badly written subplot in a soap opera no one asked for, is Angela Rayner, who somehow manages to be the human equivalent of shouting in a tin shed. Loud, echoey, and utterly incoherent.
The purpose of this government is to make our public services and our economy work for working people, strengthen our country in a world that increasingly preys on weakness. It's a cause that demands nothing less than the full power of government. Yet that's precisely what's broken.
But then Isabel Oakeshott walked into the conversation like a literary chainsaw dipped in sarcasm, and suddenly the entire Labour fantasy went up like a copy of Starmer's latest manifesto left too close to a radiator.
Over this, because we're the ones that have to face the consequences of having all these people in the country, in our country, who should not be here, and they're using it as some kind of hotel, despite the fact that many of these people that we're talking about here in these court cases actually have serious criminal records.
Yes. Keir Starmer is the kind of man who could watch a building collapse and still need 6 focus groups to decide if it was tragic. This is a guy whose political instincts are so finely tuned that he spent more time trying not to offend anyone than actually doing anything. And Angela Rayner? She's like if someone took the concept of working class authenticity, ran it through a spin machine, and then had it read by a malfunctioning Alexa.
Out and dry it, all done that. Hope it goes away. Or you can strip it out, rip out the plaster, and deal with the problem once and for all.
Isabel Oakeshott didn't just criticise them, she dissected them like a GCSE biology project gone rogue. She didn't need quotes. She didn't need drama. All she needed was a bit of logic, a touch of contempt, and a side eye so sharp it could slice through Starmer's famously vague policy outlines like a scalpel through soggy paper.
I think there is going to be political hell to pay for this deal that's being done today, this very, very dirty deal. Starmer has long been desperate to reverse Brexit, and now he's in a position where he's doing it in stages. This is a big set of concessions that he's making today. And actually, far be it from me to praise the Tories, but I think James cleverly had it right when he tweeted this morning that Starmer has got diplomacy the wrong way.
Let's start with Keir's idea of leadership, which apparently involves performing political taxidermy on every idea that once had life. He's taken Labour, a party that once had fire, and turned it into a TED talk delivered by an exhausted HR manager. Starmer promises change like a dodgy builder. All the gear, no idea. And whenever he's challenged, he responds with all the emotional range of a self-checkout machine reminding you to remove your bagging area item. Rayner, on the other hand, swaggers into debates like she's been watching too much EastEnders, convinced that yelling, "I'm one of you," loud enough will distract everyone from the fact she's spouting contradictions like confetti. Her entire persona is built on the idea that being loud equals being right, which is adorable if you're 6.
But unless we fundamentally reform the way government goes about its business, unless we first change how we try to change the country, then the hairdryer is all we've got. And this is a big job. Prisons overflowing, the NHS on its knees, a £22 billion black hole in our public finances, which, to put that in context, is nearly half of what we spend on defence of our...
Isabel, of course, wasn't having it. She treated Starmer's faux integrity like it was a knockoff handbag. Looked good from a distance, but up close, stitching's off, smells weird, and probably held together with the tears of betrayed trade unions. She highlighted what everyone's known for ages, that Starmer changes positions more often than a mattress in a budget hotel. He supported Corbyn until it was awkward. He embraced Brexit when it became necessary. He courted centrists, flirted with the left, and now seems to be ghosting everyone in favour of whoever's polling best that week.
And Rayner?
Isabel cut through her rants like a laser through butter. Behind all the performative outrage is a politician who believes that shouting about injustice is the same as solving it. That if you drop enough G's and remind everyone you once worked in a care home, people will forget your policies have more holes than a second-hand sieve. Let's be clear, Oakeshott isn't exactly known for holding back. She didn't eviscerate these two with passion, she did it with cold precision, like a surgeon bored of playing operation. Starmer, she made clear, is less leader and more human screensaver, occasionally flickering into relevance, but mostly just floating around doing nothing. His big vision for Britain seems to be make everything slightly less embarrassing, inspirational stuff.
What you do is that you try to develop good relationships with other countries to further your own interests. You don't sacrifice your interests in order to develop better relationships with other countries. And, you know, Starmer, what bit of this doesn't he understand? The British public are absolutely sick, fed up of the state of immigration. They are fed up with mass uncontrolled immigration. Starmer can shout as much as he wants about smashing the vile people smuggling gangs. He's smashed precisely 0 gangs.
Rayner, meanwhile, got handed the kind of metaphorical slap that makes you rethink life choices. Isabel exposed her as someone whose grasp of policy is inversely proportional to her confidence. It's impressive, really, the sheer volume of words Rayner can unleash without saying anything tangible. It's like watching a TEDx talk given by someone who only read the headlines. But let's talk specifics, shall we? Take Starmer's legendary U-turns. There was the nationalisation pledge, which he held for all of 5 seconds before quietly filing under not electorally convenient. Then there was his stance on student debt. Remember that? Cancel the fees, stand with students, fight the good fight, until someone handed him a spreadsheet and he decided to ghost Gen Z like a bad Tinder date. And the moment Starmer said he'd bring back trust in politics, you could almost hear irony choking in the background. This is the man who promised unity and instead delivered a party split wider than Rayner's northern vowel sounds. Isabel didn't need to embellish, she just pointed, smirked and let the inconsistencies fall like dominoes. Then there's the economy. Dear Lord, the economy. Starmer talks about fiscal responsibility like it's a hot new religion. He even carries around Rachel Reeves like a political crucifix to ward off the ghosts of Labour's spendthrift past. But Reeves' economic policy is essentially cut spending, smile awkwardly, and pray no one notices. The entire thing's built on vibes and borrowed Conservative slogans.
It isn't because the man is stupid, it's because, and this is a theme I keep returning to, he lacks judgment. And that is so important for somebody at the top of politics. If you don't have the right judgment, you're not going to last long. So you ask the question, how does he get this off the front pages? Here's what I'm going to say about that. This is not going to go away until he reveals his...
And as for Rayner's ideas, if Starmer's policies are beige wallpaper, Rayner's are a firework factory run by toddlers. Free stuff for everyone, paid for by optimism? Maybe a progressive tax system imported from Narnia? Oakeshott mocked it all by simply repeating what Rayner had previously advocated before she conveniently forgot it ever left her mouth. One of Isabel's most brutal takedowns came when she compared Starmer's leadership style to a malfunctioning sat-nav, always recalculating, never quite sure where he's going, constantly promising he knows a shortcut, only to lead the country straight into a cul-de-sac of confusion and compromise. And Rayner, bless her, riding shotgun with a copy of The Guardian and no idea how maps work. The pair of them, Starmer the sensible dad trying to navigate a family holiday while pretending he doesn't hate everyone in the car, and Rayner the overly enthusiastic cousin who drank 3 Red Bulls and now insists on being heard, are not a dynamic duo. They're a walking sitcom without the laugh track. Oakeshott didn't just dismantle their policies, she questioned their very political souls. Starmer's career, she implied, is a performance art piece titled Avoiding Commitment. And Rayner, she's a cautionary tale about what happens when charisma is mistaken for competence.
I don't know exactly what his secret is, but he sure as hell has got one or more secrets, and they relate in some way to Lord Ali and to his family. Now, I don't know how those two things overlap, but there is a secret there. There are papers all over this. They are waiting for their moment. There are people other than newspaper journalists.
Then came the moment Isabel really landed the punch, highlighting the contradiction between Starmer's obsession with law and order. Remember, former Director of Public Prosecutions, so he casually reminds everyone, and his complete inability to control his own party. The Labour benches are more divided than a pizza at a toddler's birthday party, and Starmer's approach to managing it is to pretend it's not happening. Classic leadership tactic. If you don't acknowledge the fire, maybe it'll go away on its own. Rayner's greatest hits are equally tragic. She's simultaneously the voice of the people and the voice most people wish would take a breath. Her speeches are a mixture of half-remembered slogans and volume. She once described herself as a warrior, which makes sense if your definition of war is making increasingly aggressive facial expressions while demanding someone else explain your policies. Oakeshott made it painfully clear the Starmer-Rayner duo is a political blind date gone horribly wrong. One of them wants to play it safe and order sparkling water, the other's halfway through their 3rd Jaeger bomb and telling the waiter about class betrayal. It's mismatched energy, mismatched ideologies and zero chemistry, unless you count mutual tolerance as romantic tension.
Well, when you were reading out the list of lefties that are going nuts about this, I was actually thinking Downing Street will be really happy at the spectacle of lefties going nuts, because it suggests that they're what they've announced is credible and believable and is genuinely, at least right of centre and a little bit Farage. It is none of the above. The lefties have no need to go nuts, because none of this is going to actually make a material difference.
And don't forget the working class cosplay. Starmer, the North London lawyer who can't say Greggs without sounding like he's auditioning for the Crown, trying to relate to the common man. Rayner, meanwhile, treats her background like a get-out-of-polity-free card, as if growing up poor makes her ideas immune to criticism. Oakeshott skewered this shtick with the precision of a satirist who's frankly tired of the same tired pantomime. Even Starmer's attempts at big speeches are pitiful. Every time he declares a defining mission, You can almost hear a board advisor whisper, "Make it sound Churchillian," but not too exciting. His climate plan? Vague. His housing policy? Shrug emoji. His approach to small businesses? Utterly dependent on whether there's a camera nearby. And Isabel Oakeshott, standing on a platform of brutal clarity, gave voice to what most people are thinking. Starmer's trying to win an election by being as inoffensive as humanly possible, which is great if your goal is to win Bake Off, not run a country. As for Rayner, well, she's the gift that keeps on giving, if the gift is a megaphone that only works in all caps. Isabel compared her rhetorical style to a malfunctioning pub quiz host, confident, loud, and tragically misinformed. And the policies? It's all just a glitter cannon of promises no one actually intends to fund.
This new calling Keir Starmer Keith, I think that's deadly. I think it's as deadly as John Major tucking his shirt into his underpants.
Yeah,
remember that?
Absolutely, yeah. Who can forget it? And remember who wrote about his underpants, of course, that very serious political commentator, Mr. Alistair Campbell, who pretends now to be a very highfalutin and, very high thinking individual, but has forgotten that he used to write a column for the Daily Mirror, which was about as down and dirty as you could get.
Well, it was a phrase that stuck, wasn't it? And I'm quite keen on getting this Keith Starmer thing going, because he is Keith, really, isn't he? No offence to any Keiths that may be listening, but it just seems to suit Starmer to be called.
Even their recent campaign ads are tragic. Starmer gazing thoughtfully out a window like a man trying to remember where he parked. Rayner stomping around a factory floor pretending she understands what supply chains are. It's performance politics of the lowest order. Authenticity as theatre, sincerity as strategy. So, what happens now? Well, Starmer will probably continue his impression of a political Swiss Army knife. Versatile, forgettable, and only useful in very specific emergencies. Rayner will keep yelling into microphones until someone mistakes the volume for substance. And Oakeshott? She'll keep dismantling their charade with the smug satisfaction of someone who knows exactly how hollow it all is. Because in the end, Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner aren't a vision for the future. They're a cautionary tale about what happens when you swap conviction for calculation and mistake shouting for leadership. And Isabel Oakeshott? She's just the one brave enough to say it out loud, preferably with a smirk, a pen, and zero patience for political pantomime. Now go ahead, smash that like button harder than Starmer smashed Labour's credibility. And remember, some political takedowns don't require shouting, just a scalpel. And Oakesh's got plenty to spare. Picture a man who approaches every crisis like he's ordering a decaf latte, measured, bland, utterly unmemorable. That's the calibre of resolve we're dealing with here. Keir treats urgency like it's optional, handling mounting pressure with the enthusiasm of a librarian caught in a rave. He's mastered the art of appearing present while mentally calculating how many fence posts he can straddle before someone notices he's not actually advancing.
They didn't deny these official projections which suggest that net immigration for the foreseeable next few years is likely to fall at around 500,000 people. Now, that was before today's announcement, but even Starmer's not saying this is going to slash immigration, is he? He's like, well, I'd like it to come down. It has to come down. It's not too great for us. But it's just nowhere near enough. It's a kind of pale yellow, not a blood red, which is what people are crying.
Angela, on the other hand, barrels into political discourse like a wrecking ball wearing high heels. Dramatic, noisy, and mostly off-target. Her rhetorical tactics rely more on sheer decibel levels than clarity, delivering arguments with the subtlety of a foghorn in a church. No nuance, no structure, just a deluge of slogans and a firm belief that volume equals validity. Enter Oakeshott again, wielding criticism like a scalpel dipped in truth serum. She doesn't shout, she deconstructs. With every sharp phrase, she peels back the glossy varnish and exposes the scaffolding of confusion beneath. No distractions, no hedging, just a calm, brutal spotlight on two politicians attempting to bluff their way through governance, with less substance than a reality TV reunion episode. And the most terrifying part? They think it's working.